Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're diving back into the Stilettos series by Nene Malone. However, we are not going to do Sultry and Stilettos in the next book after that. I can't think of the name of it right now. 2 and 3, those two books are about Misha and Rika. And the continuation from where we left off in book 1, because we had a cliffhanger, that doesn't pick back up until book 4, which is what we're going to dive into. Now, if you want to read books 2 and 3, feel free. I'm just not going to review those. I'm just going to jump to book number 4 so we can get back to where we left off. So, book number 4 is called Strollers and Stilettos. We don't pick up exactly where we left off because remember in the last book, he got a call from Caleb, our boy Alec, and he's like, I'm on my way. And then he leaves. So we don't start this one off from that point. We started off with him having a quickie session, which seems to be all they really have nowadays. They can't do their own love making sessions. And Alec, of course, this is that. So he kind of decides this quickie is going to go a little bit longer because he already doesn't have enough time with her. So then afterwards, she kind of said something about, we'll figure it out with time. She's like, especially if we're going to have a family one day. Well, this freaks him out because he's thinking in his head, if I don't have enough time now just for her, how the hell is that going to work with children? Like how in the heck am I going to have time for that? Now, two things. It's not like she said, we're having a baby today, right? And two, that is a conversation you all should have before you got married about whether or not you wanted children and when you wanted to start. Like there should have been a really honest conversation. I don't, and she would appear to seem to be someone who would want that type of a conversation before getting married. But I kind of wonder what if she brought it up? I don't think he would. Let's say he doesn't want children. I don't think he would have said that to her because he knows she wants them, and he'd do anything for her to get her, right? So that's where, again, communication is just so key. You have to be honest in what you really want with someone. Like, you really can't fake that, and you just can't do it because it'll blow up in your face. But he's having this little freak out in his head, you know, about time. And then I'm just kind of wondering, okay, why is he so consumed like with work? Like what exactly is I mean, I know they're working on that deal, but that shouldn't be forever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just it's a busy time right now, right? And she has her new event, planning business, it's getting off the ground. So, yeah, right now you all are really hustling. It's you're not going to have that much time with one another. I'm just kind of like I don't think the girl was saying like, let's have some kids. She's just saying, we'll have to figure things out because eventually we will have them. We switch to Jaya's point of view, and she's hanging out with her girls, and she's saying how her and Alex, you know, all they have time for are these quickies. She needs to spice it up, X, Y, and Z. And we find out she took like 2 weeks off for their honeymoon, but ever since he's been working, flying back and forth to Vancouver because that's where, and so he's got a lot going on. But then she as well has a lot going on too. So she's talking to the girls, Rika and Misha, and Misha's with Caleb, and Rika is with Bennett, who remember was the one that was really good friends with Jaya. So again, those other two books, that's where they talk about how those all cultivated those relationships. So Jaya is planning Misha's wedding to Caleb. Misha's one of those people, in all honesty, she would rather just probably go and do a quick Vegas thing, like let's elope. But she of course wants her friend to have like a really beautiful wedding or whatever. So she asked for the shoes because she's like, I need to spice it up, like I need the shoes bad. So they call themselves like the sister of the traveling stilettos. So she's like, I need to put some more spice in this relationship, so let me get those shoes back. So that's where we get to where we left off in the previous book, to where Caleb's in the shower, she comes in, they have the hot sex, and then he gets the call from Caleb and he's like, I'll be right there. So we switch back to Alex POV. He's in the Caleb told him that there was a baby left in the hotel business center. The child had a note and a birth certificate, and the birth certificate listed Alec Westhorpe as the father. And so he wanted to handle this by himself, but Jai was like, no, we're a team. Like, no, we're going together. So he's trying to think, like, who could this possibly be with? He remembers that he was like possibly drunk one night, but he doesn't remember that much about that night, but he does remember seeing like a blonde hair on the pillowcase like that next morning. So he's just trying to pull from his brain, like, how could this possibly happen? So they get there, and the baby does look like him. It has like the cleft in the chin, the dark hair. I mean, it's freaking him out. So his first thing is, let's call Child Protective Services. And Jai is like, no, we can't. We can keep the baby for a night. He's like, no, this is going to be a problem. And she's like, it's a baby. And one of her foster care system, and so she knows it's awful. And she's like, we're not going to do that. It's a baby. And there's also a note that says that if the person doesn't get $2 million, that they're going to go to the press about this love child. And so the first thing Jaya says is, oh, they're after that Kleinfeld deal. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm trying to wonder, okay, is this really his kid, or is it some type of game? Because he also made a statement that the guy um was trying to find excuses to get out of their deal, the Kleinfeld guy. So I'm kind of like thinking, like, okay, what if he paid someone to like set something up? I'm trying to think of what this could possibly be. And it could just be as simple as he's the damn father of the child, you know? But I think it could be something bigger. So with Alex saying, we're calling Child Protective Services, immediately after he said it, he did feel awful because he's doing exactly what his dad did, right? Um, which was like, put him in foster care, get him out of here. Whereas Adele was like, no, we're not going to throw the baby out. And Jaya's like, it's repeating itself. However, it's not fully the same thing. I can see how he sees it that way, but it's not. Like, he was a full like 15, 16 years old when the father did this to him, and this child is like 8 months. Like, the child can't remember this, right? Whereas this child don't know what's going on. Whereas you knew what was happening, you know? And oh, and by the way, the child's name is Alexa, by the way. I said, oh shoot. It's not looking good. So then Jaya is at the engagement party for Rika and Beckett. Yes, they're getting married too. So it's two weddings going on. They had a little issue earlier. She's talking to Misha because Misha was able to get a band for her, because I think she's an editor at a magazine, and so a fashion editor, I think, at a magazine, and she was able to get someone that had blown up because of the press they gave them. So it helped with that last minute band cancellation. So she's telling her about the situation. It's been about 2 days. Her and Alec aren't really talking to each other. She's pissed. He's pissed. It's a lot. So Misha just kind of was like, I mean, I think he made the best decision based on the information that he had, Like, looking at this from someone coming in, he's got this kid, they're demanding money, you know, you gotta you gotta think about that. This wasn't just oh, a baby was left and he's just being mean. I don't think it's that. It's just he doesn't know if this is real, if this is some type of ploy, and his first and foremost thought is to protect you, right? That's just what it is. And she's like, y'all just need to have a nice long fuck, and then y'all can like have a good conversation at that point, because then all the endorphins will be going through you. So she goes up to him. He's already like getting hard. Like when he sees her, she has that effect on him. So they dance a little bit. Um, and he takes her to the security room, tells the guy give us like 15 minutes, even though he thinks they're going to need a little bit longer. But before they start fucking, they do talk, and he lets her know he's called and checked on the child multiple times. um he was saying, he was hoping it would be a better situation because unfortunately the people that they put the child with, they already have three other foster kids, and one of them um is disabled. And so he was like, we'll keep the child for a couple days until we're able to like find a permanent place, and or at least until we're able to track down the mother or some type of relative. So she was like, he told her like, this is not permanent, and he's like, you need to understand that. And she was like, okay, and I think the problem that freaks her out, I think it was the fact that it was a kid, and his first reaction was to throw away, right? Like, I'm not dealing with this. Get the kid. And Misha had actually said something to her about that. Like, is that what this is about? Like, are you upset with him because you're afraid that's his possible attitude towards children? And she didn't tell Misha that that's what it was, but in her head, that was a part of it. But again, this is where I will keep saying it again and again. This is why you need to have those conversations before you get married or before you get into some type of long-term thing. You need to talk about those type of things. Have honest conversation. Because if that's your fear, that makes me feel like y'all probably didn't really even talk. But then, of course, they had their nice hard fuck, so they were okay after that. They've taken the kid home, because again, he knew he could not leave that child in that situation. He went in to go check on the kid, and she was on her stomach, so he turned her over because he did remember Jaya saying like they're not supposed to be on their stomach, so he turned her over to put her on her back. And Jaya comes up and he told her, well, he had left out the baby's room, I'm sorry. And Jaya comes and sees him. She was finna go check on the baby. He said, I already did it, X, Y, and Z. And he says, what if it's mine? He says it was a night, and Jaya's like, it's not yours. I don't believe that. And she's like, you're a good man and all this type of stuff and all this type of crap. And so she wouldn't let him say the rest of what he's thinking in his head could have possibly happened. So then they have this nice hot fuck session. They're both relaxed. Um, she's just on this thing of like, even if he did sleep with someone, he would have used protection because that's what he used with her. All this type of stuff. But then again, if he's completely wasted, if he's not making rash decisions, right? If he's not in the right mental space, he could do something extremely stupid. So I just didn't like how when he's trying to put like listen, there's a possibility I did something and I don't remember it, but this is a possibility, and you just going, no, 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 you wouldn't do that, no, no, no. I just think it's a little naive. That's all I'm saying. We switched to Jaya. It's like Thursday morning. She's wiped. But I'm just kind of like, girl, that's not an easy job from what people have told me. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to be tired. You're working a full-time job on top of this. And I'm not even going to say full-time job. You run your own business, okay? That takes more hours, you know? So she's wiped. And she had to put on some clothes. Alex was like, I got to go to work. She's like, well, you can at least go check on her, like, to see if she needs to be changed or anything like that. And he was just like, I got to go. Right? And I'm just kind of like, I feel a little back and forth with this one because I'm like, you wanted this. He did not want to do this. How much did you really expect for him to do? You know? Like, he caved in because this was something you wanted to do. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to leave the child, in that situation. But he also didn't want to do this. You did. So, he did it for you, caving in to let the child come live there. But I don't think that means he wants to help out. It may be fucked up. May not be the nicest thing on his part to be that way. But I'm just saying. I don't know. I think it's just a lot for him to process. He's absolutely terrified that, you got to think this isn't just, okay, it's a baby. There's a baby and then there's someone trying to extort. So there's a bigger plot going on in the background too. So this isn't just one type of situation. It's like he's got a lot to think about with this. Whereas she's only focusing on, it's the baby, like she's just thinking about this one aspect of it, and he's trying to look at the whole picture on top of his fear. So even though he could have done more as far as helping her out physically, I still do kind of understand where he's coming from, and she shouldn't be shocked that he's not wanting to do any other physical stuff. Right or wrong, I just don't think she should be shocked by it. Before he left, he did tell her he was doing a paternity test, and she was like, you don't have to do that for me and all this type of stuff. She's like, I know you wouldn't do anything like that and all this type of crap. You're not careless, X, Y, and Z. And it annoys me that she does that. But anyway, he leaves, and her friend Rika and Misha come over. Rika loves kids, but when she reaches for the baby, Alexa was like wailing. Like, But when Misha reached for, the kid was cool, ooh and eyeing with her. So I was like, wow. So they, of course, were talking about her, the whole paternity thing. And she just had in her head that, what did she say? Misha said this to her. Just because you want something to be true doesn't make it true, And that's why I was like, he tried to describe to her that hazy night, and she should have just let him say what he needed to say about it. Because there is a possibility this could be his kid. That's just the truth. So every time they said it to her, she just kept saying, it's not possible, it's not possible, it's not possible. Um, so I'm like, well, we'll just see what happens when that test comes back. So she also conducted interviews that morning for a nanny. One was like a punk rock girl who said, I'm just going to play Marilyn Manson all the time. The second one was like, the tightest outfit she could find, asking questions about being married to a Westhorpe. How did she do it? All this type of crap. And then the third one seemed like a good candidate, but then the baby didn't really take to her. So the next day, a couple days. They're at the office. She has her foot on the stroller, kind of like rocking the baby. Adele comes in, and Adele hadn't seen the baby yet. So when she saw the baby, she's like, oh my God. She had always wanted to know what Alex would have looked like when he was a baby, because his mom, they moved around so much, there were never any baby pictures. He just had a couple from when he was a toddler. And so, of course, you know, here comes Jaya with, like, this isn't his baby, and Adele was kind of like, well, you kind of have to look at the possibility. And of course, she took offense to that and was like, you don't believe in him and all this type of shit. And it's like, girl, he don't even think 100% that it's not his. So stop trying to force people to believe what you believe in your brain. Just stop, you know? And even if it happened, it doesn't make him a bad person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what all this, you don't believe in him. Like, why are you acting like he did something horrible? You broke up with him because he didn't tell you who he really was, and that pissed you off because you felt like that means he didn't trust you and all this other crap. So you dumped him. Whoever he fucked in that period of time was his business. I'm sorry. Has nothing, that's what it is. You left that door open for that. So this has nothing to do with him being a bad person if this is the case. You know? Not It may not be the wisest decision. If you didn't want no kids, you should have been a little bit more careful. But it's not this horrible thing that, oh my gosh, you don't believe in him. Like, she's just being a little too extra about it. And it's weird to me because for someone who is so about planning and looking at everything, she is putting up pure blinders with this possibility. And it drives me a little nuts. She also talks to Adele and says how, he's not being physically very helpful with the baby and stuff like that. And Adele's like, he's in shock. You just give him time. You know, that's it. He's putting money towards it, but he's not trying to do the physical stuff. You know, just give him time. So then we switch to Alex and Caleb. Caleb showed him a picture of a woman. He doesn't remember. The woman was staying in Boston at the time at the hotel in Boston. The restaurant, I guess he was there with somebody, or no, let me say it correctly. Someone was paying for her apparently to stay there, but they don't know who because there was no like credit card attached to anyone. So they don't know if she was paying with cash. They don't know. Her name, I think, is Melissa. So they're trying to do some more digging. Caleb called him out on the fact that he had been helping out because, Misha told him, And Alex, of course, got worked up and was like, just go ahead and say it. You want to say I'm just like my old man. And Caleb was like, are you done? Because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you're freaked out. It's understandable. But at the same time, that little kid needs you, you know? Um, I mean, he didn't want to put her in the system, you know? And he does feel a fierce need to protect the child, and that scares him because he feels like that's a sign that even more so this might be his. So he's just got a lot of emotional, mental shit going on right now. Um, I'm like, I mean, damn, it's been a fucking week at this point, you know? Like, come on. Jaya clearly has a fear that he's gonna probably do this with their kid. That's going on in her head, I think, as well. And I feel like that's why she felt the need to say something to Adele. She told her girls, and they're friends with him. So it's kind of like you're trying to get other people to say something to him instead of you being honest and just saying flat out, hell, is this how you going to be when we have kids? Because that's a real quick way to have that conversation and get it over with, you know? So anyway, Jaya comes in the office because she's got a conference call, and her assistant was supposed to watch the baby. I think her name was like Abigail, but she had some emergency with shipments, and so she had to go handle it. So guess what that means? Leaving the baby with Alec. So then Caleb kind of spoke for him and was like, "Oh yeah, we can watch him." And he's like, "You know what? Afterwards, you look kind of tired. Maybe you need to go to the spa." Alec, of course, is like, "I could just strangle him." Because not too long after she left, Caleb left. I was like, oh my gosh. And again, on Caleb's part, don't be trying to push people to do more than what they're comfortable with. I'm just saying, you know. Um, Again, you need help. Help her pick out the fucking nanny, you know, because you do see this is, it's a lot for her. So he could at least help in that way. But he shot down a couple of the ones that came through too. So now at this point, I'm like, okay, well then now you need to help. Because these are people that could have helped her, and you're saying they don't work. So now you do need to do something, you know? Um, so Alex is, talking to the baby. He's saying to the baby about date nights and stuff because he wants to do something special for Jaya. The baby's, all cooing and crying and stuff like that. And then the baby starts wailing, freaks him out. Adele comes in. She's like, pick her up. He's like, I don't know how to do that. She's like, well, just picture it like a squirmy football. So he picks her up. Immediately she stops crying. And she just tells him, think about how you felt when you had no one. Now imagine you're a baby, you can't talk, you can't do anything for yourself, and you're alone. Just think about what you would need. And that's when he picked up the baby and the baby stopped crying. So then they had a discussion about him. He doesn't delegate. He tries to do everything himself. He felt like once he stepped into the role, he was supposed to give everything. And he just went full throttle. And she's telling him, you're going to burn yourself out. Like, you've got to trust people around you to delegate things. She's like, Jaya does it. If she didn't, the girl would have been burnt out. You got to learn to delegate. We also find out that right before they got married, he did take on the Westthorpe name, which Adele had always wanted him to do it, but again, he wasn't ready. So I think also he liked it, the anonymity. I'm not saying that word right, but the anonymity, I can't say it, but he didn't want people to know who he was. Anonymity. That doesn't sound right, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Um, at least he knows he wants to do better as far as helping out with the baby, so that's a plus, you know. Um, but then again, I'm like, you know what? She could have just left the baby with him one time. It probably would have forced him to help anyway. To be honest, it's fucked up. But hell, if you don't want to handle it all on your own, or you can ask, could you help me? Like, yes, she said that morning, like, hey, could you go check on her? But like, check on her for 5 seconds ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, could you do this? Or put him in a situation where you gotta help take care of it, like she did today. You know, you ain't gotta always do stuff by yourself. Rest of the day, Alec is all about baby Alexa. He apologizes to Jaya, saying how he should have gotten it from the get go. She was saying how the baby feels like it's theirs. Um, but yet it's like you're just so determined to think this is not his kid. Anyway, I don't know. But anyway, I digress. So then we find out he did listen. He's not going to Vancouver at the end of the week. He is sending Beckett instead. And that's what you need to do. You have talented people around you. Use them. Give them more responsibility. Um, he also, which I'm glad because that means he really had been listening to Adele. Um, she delegates, but her problem is she keeps adding projects. So like her dad asked her to do something and she automatically said yes. And I'm like, she got to get over that stupid shit too, right? Like, that's not helping either. Like, you can delegate, but if you're getting too much stuff to where it's not enough people to delegate it to, guess what? You're still going to weigh yourself down. And plus, now you have this baby. So then they put the baby down. They go in the living room. They play fight. And then they have their little fun with each other. They needed their bonding time. She does feel bad sometimes, um, knowing that he came back for her and like he's committed to this 9 to 5 lifestyle for her, and she says to him like, you don't have to work that job for me. But he, of course, is like, he made a commitment, he's gonna stick to it. that's who he is, you know? And again, I think it's something doable. It's just that what's causing the issue is he's working too much. He's just starting to try and delegate. So he was trying to do too much. On top of that, nurturing a relationship and then your own mental sanity. That's a lot, you know? So I think this helps, you know, because he was feeling bad because he expected to have more time with his new bride and it just hasn't been that way. You know, he's trying to be the perfect employee, you know, but again, you got a team, fucking use them. Next day at work, Caleb comes in. He's got some more information. The woman used to work at the Boston hotel. She got let go, and then she apparently tried to sue for discrimination. Now, this is a blonde haired, blue eyed woman, but she did it on the basis of being a female. The problem was no other person nor the woman would back up her claims. So she felt like she should have gotten a raise, but the manager told her no. And then after that, she started like doing piss poor work. Excuse me. And that's when they let her go. So he's tried to reach out to the neighbors where she apparently was living. Nobody remembers seeing a boyfriend or anything like that. Not too much information. Hasn't been able to find any friends. She grew up in foster care. And then I'm thinking, okay, is this like another sister? Like, what if that dad had like another damn kid? Because it's a possibility because he was a whore. You know what I mean? So it is possible. I'm trying to figure this out. Our girl Jaya is not feeling well, so she worked from home today, but she's got the baby with her, and so not Elliot, I'm sorry, what's his name? Alec called Rika and Misha over to help her. Um, and when they came in, they was like, "Oh, girl, you look bad." You know, she was like, "I don't know why I'm just so tired. Like, I just cannot get it together." Well, Misha was like, "You probably need to pee on a stick." And she's like, "No, I'm on a pill." And she's like, "Girl, those things are only 98% accurate on top of everything that's been going on. Come on." So Misha had a pregnancy test because the previous month she was late and she had a little scare. So she got the test, but then she had to wait like 3 days before she could even take it. And so she just kept the other one in her purse in case she ever had another scare. So sure enough, she's goes and pees on the stick and she is pregnant and she's freaking out. She doesn't know how the heck Alec is going to react. So Alec is talking with Caleb. Caleb has gotten some information. There's footage of Alec leaving a bar with someone. He's clearly out of it. The woman looks up at the camera, so this is clearly Melanie. And you see them going to the hotel. You don't see anything else for another 7 hours is when you see her leave. So Caleb was like, you might have been, roofied or something because you don't remember really anything. And that's like a side effect from that. You just have like these little patches of stuff. And so he tells him, you need to tell Jaya, that it's a possibility. And so he goes home, but Jaya is trying to distract him from her news. So she's got on some sexy red lingerie. And then, of course, they wind up having this nice, intimate, long fuck. And then both of their phones go off. The security alert. They jump up, get into action. They have a safe room in this house. So she's going to go get the baby. He'll go get his laptop. And they're going to meet in the safe room. So they're getting ready to go, and then another call from security comes in saying they've apprehended the woman. She had a lockpick tool kit, and he's like, "Oh gosh, more than likely this has got to be Alexa's mom." And he's just like, he doesn't tell her that part. He just says, "I got to go handle this." I'm like, "Oh gosh, this is gonna be crazy." Alec doesn't come back. Well, he comes back, but by the time she woke up again, like he had taken a shower and he was gone. So she tried to stay up, but eventually she fell asleep around 4 a.m. And she gets to work. There's an envelope her assistant brings to her. She opens it. Guess what? It's the pictures from the security footage with the dates and times of around this could have happened when they weren't together. So now she's getting upset. But the voice in her head is saying, yeah, but he tried to tell you it was a possibility. So you being upset, I'm sorry. It's like if somebody tries to tell you something, you need to fucking listen and let them tell you. You know? You can't think like, no, he just loved me so much. He wouldn't do anything like that. Y'all were not together. He wasn't doing nothing to you, you know? If he did fuck somebody else, it happened. Period. You know? At this point, I don't really care about how she feel. I'm sorry. I just don't. So she's mad though because she's like, he kept something from me. But then the voice told her again, he did say he needed to talk to you last night. And you were wanted to distract him. So then in her head, she's thinking, well, he should have tried harder. No, bitch, we not doing that. No. Especially when you keeping something yourself. Come on. So anyway, she calls Alec, and he's kind of short with her on the phone. He's like, I'll talk to you later. And he hung up. So then she's like, oh, she's going to see him. Well, then on her way to go see him, she sees the woman from CPS. And she's thinking like, oh, he called her, right? And the woman was like, yeah, he wanted to go over some options, to help the baby, get a more permanent type of a situation. So I guess because of the break-in, he felt like he couldn't keep the child safe. And she's all like, we can definitely keep the child safe, this and that or whatever. But it is fucked up that he didn't talk to Jaya about that. That is fuck up. That is sneaky. So now she's got the pictures, the CPS woman, and this all looks like, and he hung up on her, right? So this is all looking like he's covering up something. It's not looking good on his part. It's just a perfect, recipe for a misunderstanding. So she decides, you know what? I'm not going to go to his office. I'm going to calm myself down and I'm going to regroup. So then we switch to Alex. Caleb has the results. He is not the father, but he is related. So immediately he thinks Max is ass, right? But Max was out of the country on his honeymoon. So it's not Max. So the child has something called, hope I say this right, Waardenburg syndrome. So this disease affects the hearing and eye color and stuff like that. It changes your eye color. And there was this little white patch that the dad had on his head before he fully went gray. And this apparently was a sign of it. The Melissa girl, she grew up in San Diego. Not too better off than the way Alec grew up. But she has been watching clearly and seeing what's going on and probably figured out her mom died like 5 years ago. And she probably figured out who her father was and wanted a piece of the pie. Well, the hotel is Adele's. That's not the dad's. Even though they call it the Westorp, I guess because she married him or whatever. But she's a successful businesswoman in that situation. But he's still like, she could have just came forward, said who she was. I would have helped her, not come up with some fucking scheme to try and get money, using your kid. That's fucked up. So Caleb tells him, you need to talk to Jaya. His dumb ass is like, no, I need to make sure the threat's gone now, So I'm like, see, this is where you're going to get fucked up because you need to talk to her. You need to let her know what's going on. But you're trying to, it looks like a cover up of some misdeeds, right? This doesn't look like you're trying to protect her. It looks like you've done some shit and you're trying to cover the shit up. And he's stupid. Jaya goes to her old apartment. Her girls come over. They have a discussion and talk about everything. And they were honest with it. They say, don't get it twisted. He was wrong as hell for not telling you about CPS and the pictures and stuff like that. You know, he was wrong. But he did not cheat on you. And she's like, no, I know that. I'm not mad about that. It's just like I thought we were a partnership. And the fact that he shut me out and isn't discussing things with me and just making decisions, she's like, that's not gonna work for me, you know. She's like, I just need maybe a couple days, to get my mind right. So Alec knew where she was when he went home and she hadn't been there. So he comes in the apartment. She's freaked out. Um, and she has like a skillet ready to hit him because the baby woke up first, and then when she saw him, she was ready to knock him out. Um, so she's like, you scared the shit out of me. So they finally talk, but when she starts talking, she tells him, like, honestly, I needed some time because I thought we were a partnership. She's like, and if you're not going to do this with me, if you're going to shut me out and stuff, she's like, then we're not going to work. And that freaked him out. And that made him realize he had handled this all fucking wrong. He told her that the reason he had, I guess, reached out to CPS or talked to CPS was he felt like he couldn't protect the child and he was trying to make the decision. And she said, so what happens when we have kids? If you feel like you can't protect them, are you going to just send them away? And when she said that to him, he felt so stupid. He realized how it looked, you know? So again, this is why, even if you have a certain way of thinking, and I'm an overthinker, right? So I get that. You have to be well aware that your overthinking can alienate your partner, right? Like you just completely shut her out of the process because you thought you needed to protect her, you know? And it's like, this is her life too, bruh. Like, she's a part of this too. Like, you know? And so at that point, she told him she was pregnant and he was actually really happy. Um, she, of course, was like, I know this isn't what you want and all this type of stuff. And he's like, no, like, I'm good. Like, I'm happy about this. And she admitted she tried to distract him the night before and all this type of stuff. And he felt like even more of an ass. Um, but he's like, I will do anything. You just tell me what I have to do. Like, I can't lose you. He's like, that's not an option for me, you know. And I'm like, just open your fucking mouth. Like, that's what it comes down to. They stayed at her apartment for a little bit longer, and then they went back home, and it seemed like security had been disarmed. So he was going to go check around, but when they looked up, they see a blonde woman with a gun. So it is Melanie. And she's like, give me my baby back. And so she apparently had sent the CPS woman to get her child back, but the woman came back empty handed. So he didn't call the CPS woman. I thought he had called her. She, of course, is saying, give me my baby and give me my money and all this type of stuff. And, they're like, you got a gun. Like, they're not just going to give you the baby. And she was just clearly out of it. So she made the comment, none of y'all ever came looking for me. He's like, we didn't know to look for you. Like, no one knew you existed, you know? And he's trying to tell her, I know the feeling, no one came look for me. Like, I had to go look for them. And she's like, you're just trying to throw me off and all this type of stuff. And so she apparently clearly had been watching them, saw what they had, knew that, Jaya was this planner and all this type of stuff. Like, she paid massive attention to them. Like, she really put in the research. And my thing was, bitch, if you wanted the money, all you had to do was just say who you were. Ask for some money. I mean, to use your child, the extent she went to do it, I just thought was stupid. Paternity can be done very easily. Like, if you're, or maybe she knew the dad didn't really have no money and it was the Westthorpe portion that had it. So that's why she tried to get it through Alec. Okay, maybe that's what it was. But still, like he would have given her money. He would have made sure she was good. Like, that's the crazy part. But she never said anything. She just assumed that people knew she existed and just never came for her. And it's like, girl, it wasn't nothing like that. Nobody knew you existed. Papa was a Rolling Stone, bitch. So anyway, um, soon as he saw that something was wrong, when they were about to come in the house, he had shot a message off to Caleb. So thankfully, that gave Caleb time. He was able to come. They were able to apprehend her, get her subdued, because I was like, oh, she crazy, crazy. So then we fast forward. Alexa's like walking around tearing up the house. The baby cries out, and Alec goes to get her because Jaya was like, I'm just so tired. So he goes, gets the baby, and we find out that he's paying for Melanie's legal bills. They're trying to get her into a psychiatric hospital. She'll have supervised visits with the child when the child's a little bit older. They are taking over guardianship of Alexa, and he puts his hand on Jaya's stomach, and he felt not one heartbeat but two. And she's like, oh my gosh, twins. And so they're about to expand. So they're both excited. And, they're like, they're going to need a bigger stroller. And she's like, she loves her Christian Louboutin shoes. She's like, but she's going to have to give them somebody else because they work too well. And he's like, no, I love my wife and those stilettos. And that's how it ends. I like this. I don't know how I mean, maybe, I don't know. I just felt like it should have been the second book because of the, cliffhanger. But I guess the writer saw it a different way. And, hey, that's their vision. I get it. But I really liked it. I do have a really good series that I've been wanting to do with you guys. So next week we're going to jump into that one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a surprise. I'm super excited to do it. Let me know what you guys thought about this story down in the comments section. If you have any suggestions, also put those down in the comments section. Eventually I'll be able to get to them. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are going to be available down below in the description section as well. I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.